Hey there, Melissa with Atlas CFO. Today we are talking about equipment rates. Equipment rates is one of those things where there's a lot of confusion around it, for one, and sometimes we even think, oh, well, I've already paid for my equipment, I don't need to even think about what that rate is. So what is an equipment rate? Well, an equipment rate is the cost of company-owned equipment that you would want to recover as part of your job. So you want to have it in your estimate, in your job cost, in a perfect world, both places. And we want to make sure that we have addressed how much it costs to maintain, keep, operate, own company-owned equipment. So what all goes into this? Well, we have the obvious answer, which is the cost of the equipment, and that one's pretty easy. But that's not all that goes into the true cost of an equipment operation, especially if you're doing from something like a monthly rate or an hourly rate. And I don't get into it a whole lot today, but you can even have equipment that is operated by someone, and then that adds a whole nother element of complexity to your equipment cost and your equipment rate. So we not only have the cost of the original piece of equipment, but we could have the cost of capital, which is what it takes to pay for the piece of equipment. We also have things like insurance, taxes, storage, fuel, maintenance, safety, tools, and as I mentioned, maybe even an operator. So there's a lot of costs that go into just a single piece of equipment that we want to make sure that we have recovered in our estimate and then track as part of our job cost. So there's really two pieces whenever you look at recovering cost. You not only need to make sure that you've got a way and a method to put it in your estimate so that you recover it, but then you need a way to be able to track it so you can compare how we do an estimate to actual. So think about, do I need a rate that is per hour, per week, per month? And a lot of this depends on the type of equipment that you're using and how you put together projects. If you've seen some of my other videos, I talk about the importance of the loop between estimating, project management, and accounting. So this is another one that is the same. It falls right in line. So we want to think about how do we estimate the project, and then we want to account for it in that same fashion. That way we can compare estimates to actual. So if you are looking at your estimating whenever you're going into a job and you're going to put a per month rate going in, you may want to think about how that would reflect in your job cost so that you can marry those two up and make them similar. So in your estimate, that's where we really want to start, is company-owned equipment isn't free. Even if we've paid for it, it still isn't free. It is very useful to us, and it is an important method to get our recovery for that piece of equipment that we've worked so hard to pay for. So thinking and knowing and planning to make sure that you've got that equipment recovery is ultimately the best way to go. In job cost, again, you want to set up those mirrored images so that whatever you put in the estimate you can show in job cost. Now, some of our software makes this super easy to do because they have an equipment module that allows us to do this. Other ones, a little more tricky. Some of them are even going to have to be a manual process, or you may even have to track it outside of the software if your accounting software doesn't have an equipment module. A good example is QuickBooks doesn't have an equipment module, so you have to do it a little bit differently, versus in a software like Foundation, there's an entire equipment module, so you can use that module to cost out your equipment and track it. So if this is interesting to you and you'd like to build your own equipment rate, we have an equipment rate calculator that goes through how to calculate it and then even gives you a summary of what those rates would be on a per month, per hour, per week basis. And that way you can build your own equipment rate. It's in our big library all access, and we'd love to see you in there. Thanks for spending time with me today. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.